Good afternoon, everybody. As you all join and get your audio going, give everybody just a minute to sign into audio and make sure everybody's out of the waiting room. Okay, we just have a couple more people coming in. All right. I think our waiting room is now empty. All right, well, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for our Women in Architecture monthly discussion. We are happy to have our historic, record-breaking panel with us today. This is the first time in AI Florida's history that we will have 4 consecutive female presidents, so we are very proud of that. And I'd also like to join in on this history of also having a female leader. So we are all woman run here. I will say who's on the call here, and then we will get started with some questions. And then, as always, we will leave some time at the end for questions. And this is a regular Zoom, so you are able to either raise your hand virtually or unmute yourself and ask a question. So we will add some time at the end for questions. But with us today, we have Lourdes Solera, who was our president last year. Beverly Frank is our current president. I'm sure she's counting down the days, so she gets put immediate there. And then Rhonda Hammond will be our president next year. We're looking forward to her leadership. And after that will be Elizabeth Camargo. So with that, I will go in the same order and start with you, Lourdes. And if you could each give us a summary of how you got into AIA leadership.
Okay, so even though I came up with a question, I don't have the answer. But so I'm telling you as it is. So first of all, thank you everybody for joining us. This committee is something that Becky and I created last year, and it's been wonderful. So thank you everybody for joining. One of my bosses asked me to join Miami's Architecture Week committee, and I was like, sure, why not? And so, I enjoyed it. I got to meet a lot of different people that I didn't know. I didn't go to school, University of Miami, or anywhere in Florida, so I really didn't know too many people, architects in Florida, except people I worked with. And so it was an opportunity to meet people like-minded. And they started asking me, well, why don't you join? You're so active, right? Because I became chair of the Architecture Week, and before I knew it, I had drank from the Kool-Aid, so to speak, and found that I enjoyed AIA so much. Some of you have heard me say I don't have hobbies. I have children and I have AIA, and those are my hobbies. And as I moved it, I started as a chapter director and then secretary treasurer, and then I became president of AIA Miami in 2004. I had really no interest. I was actually, I think I was pregnant or something. I had a newborn or about to. And the person who talked to me said the right words. He goes, well, you would be the second woman president of the chapter since 1941. And I was like, oh, you had to say that. That's like a challenge. I was like, okay, 2 reasons. A, we're very, discriminatory of women, or B, women are smart and know it's a lot of work, so they don't want to do it. And of course, I know it's really A, not B. And then that was it. That was history. I really was in. And so then they asked me, oh, join AIA Florida. I was on the board. Next year will be my first year in 10 years that I'm not on that board. I'm going to have withdrawal symptoms pretty soon. But it just became something I enjoyed so much. And I saw that I could give back and really make an impact. And for years I said I only wanted to stay in Miami because I could see the impact locally. And they convinced me, come to Florida, you can make an impact as well. And so you do make an impact, and getting involved is the best thing I ever did, and I don't regret it. And I constantly team people to do that. It's not AIA, pick something else that you really can give back to. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Lourdes. Beverly? You're muted still, Beverly.
There was a fire truck going by. My path very different from Lourdes. I was actually vice president of AIAS in school at the University of South Florida, and had no idea what AI was at that time. And it took until next year is actually my 10-year anniversary in having my AIA membership. And sometimes that's hard for me to believe because it's been a pretty fast trajectory for leadership. And I owe that to two men primarily. One, Pete Carrot-Massanis, who was a client at the time because he's an owner's rep, said, you will do this, and put my name forward as West Director of AIA Tampa Bay. And I wasn't a member of AIA, so they said, hey, by the way, can you join AIA? So that was my introduction to AIA, Tampa Bay. And within 3 years was elected to president-elect of AIA Tampa Bay. And concurrently, Larry Wilder, the late, great Larry Wilder, had put my name forward to take his seat as the state director on the AIA Florida board. And that was my introduction to AIA Florida board. So nothing too detailed in the storytelling, except to say, I really commend Larry and Pete for doing that lift and encouraging me to join AIA.
Thank you, Beverly. Rhonda, what's your story?
So, like Beverly mentioned, my story is a little bit different. I came later to AIA with 3 children, raising 3 children, and working a full-time job and helping my husband get our business off the ground. I was very occupied, and so once I got my children up independent and they could drive themselves to school and things like that, I found myself with like time on my hands and felt like I need to give back to the profession that had given so much to me. And so I reached out to the local component here in Tallahassee and said, what can I do? And they signed me right up for the secretary position. And of course, you guys know in the smaller components, you get to do all the different positions. And so I was secretary and treasurer. And in 2019, was the president of the local chapter. And then in 2020, I was called and said, you've been nominated for a vice president position on the state board. And I was actually quite caught off guard because I did not feel like anybody knew me. And what went through my mind is like, what have you got to lose here at this point? You can do your speech and tell them what you need to say. And if you win, you win. And then if you don't, you dodged a bullet. So I did my speech and we did everything virtual, if you remember that year. And when they announced the winners, my internet went down, so I didn't even know who had won. And I finally text Becky and go, by the way, who won the 2 vice president slots? And she says, you and Josh did, congratulations. So Steve called me and congratulated me. So again, I was very surprised because I wasn't expecting it. So I served as the advocacy chair and the professional development chair. And then it came time to decide if I was going to run for president. And to be honest, again, I was just doing the best I could do and trying to bring value and inclusion and membership in Tallahassee and to give Tallahassee a voice on the board. And a sweet person came and encouraged me to run. Again, I did not feel like I was known well enough around the state, but the opportunity came again to give back to the profession that had been so gracious to me. And then with all the friends I had made around the state, which is probably, I've said this many times, is the best part about being on AIA. It's just, you have this community of creative, like-minded, and really good-hearted folks. I know the environment can be somewhat competitive, but I have gained incredible friends that I will cherish forever. But I decided that this opportunity is an opportunity of the lifetime. And again, I could serve that community that had given back to me, and I decided to run. I am not like Lourdes and Beverly, and I do not know what Elizabeth's term on the board is. You talk to Lourdes, and I'm just amazed because she's been on the board how many years again, Lourdes? Many. And I'm just amazed to get to serve with these people with the dedication they are. but I'm a little bit new to the game, but I'm very encouraged by this group, and I'm looking forward to being able to serve and follow. I've got huge shoes to fill, but I'm
Hey,
looking
I got
forward
big
to it.
feet. I take that as an insult.
Thank you, Rhonda. I had blocked our virtual annual meeting from my memory. Elizabeth, coming all the way from Brazil to join us for this call. How did you get into AI leadership?
As Lourdes, I've been studying Florida, and so for a while I worked in several firms, and that was my network. When I started my own firm, and being a small firm, I felt like I need to reach out and network with my community. So I thought, let's go to the AIA. So my first meeting there was a large group of men speaking Spanish, and I felt like I was an outcast. I was the only woman that did not speak Spanish, even though I am Latin and Brazilian, my Spanish is not my strongest language. So I thought, this is not for me. So a few years later, when we started the Women in Architecture community, that attracted me back to the AIA, and I felt like things have changed. There were many more friendly faces in the group, and then English became the official language of the group, so I felt like I was part of it. Then a couple of years later, Cheryl Jacobs, our executive director, invited me kindly to run for the director of the AIA Miami board. And like Lourdes, I said, why not? Sometimes a why not or just say yes is the best thing one can do. So I joined the board, and they served Kool-Aid in our first meeting, and that's what got me hooked. I think the AIA is a great venue that you give, but you get so much more back, and you feel the immediate gratification of the time you spend. Sometimes you spend a lot of time, but it's always time well spent. So I went through my trajectory at the board until I ran for president. And then I felt like it was not time to stop yet. So Lourdes decided to run for vice president, and the seat as state director became vacant. And I thought that's the opportunity to be only 1 year to finish Lourdes' term. If I don't like it, I just step out, and that's the end of it. So I finished my first year, and I begged the board to keep me there for another term, so 2 more years. Then after that, I said, well, maybe it's time to run for vice president. I cannot step out at this point. And then after the 2 years as vice president, some friends of mine speaking on this group asked me, oh, why don't you run for president? And that was the real question, because being the president of the state involved a lot more responsibility and time commitment, and I wasn't sure I was ready to first to fill the shoes of my predecessors, and second, if I have the time and the bandwidth to do that. But then I remember a conversation I had with Lourdes when she was debating she was going to run for vice president or for president or not, and I asked her, have you ever regretted any of your decisions regarding the AIA, doing things for the AIA or joining different positions? And she told me that she never regretted. And I said, so if there are no regrets, why not say yes? So I asked myself the same question. And since there were no regrets, I just said yes. So I'm thrilled to be here, to be the second in command with Rhonda next year. And I also like to thank all the women that came before me, that lift me up and push me ahead, help me lick my bruises, lift my head, and keep going.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, you all have wonderful stories. Beverly, I will start with you. What does leadership mean to you?
This is an interesting topic for me, and I think it's ever evolving as it should be. I'll take a page out of Lourdes's book and chime in about her theme for her year and about empowerment. And for me, leadership is about empowerment. It's I approach leadership certainly in the role of president. This past year has taught me so much. I've learned a lot from Lourdes. I've learned a lot from what I feel like sometimes are failures, which I think it's something we don't give ourselves enough grace to do is fail. And as leaders, the best thing we can do is demonstrate vulnerability at times and tell people that it's okay to fail, because we learn more from, I think, our failures than our successes. So from that standpoint, I've always believed in leadership. You hear the buzzword of servant leadership, but I definitely think that that is the approach, as everyone so eloquently said before, the opportunity to serve the profession. And it's such a noble profession to me. So the idea that we can nobly serve the membership, but our community, and in our case, the young women that come after us. And it was interesting the other day, I had an interview. It was a young lady, and she asked the question of, sometimes I feel fraud, and we hear that that's called imposter syndrome, right? And in my generation, that's called lack of confidence. And having, and I think we all suffer from that to some extent. Your confidence level, your thought that you're not worthy enough, but being able to bolster that in the people around you, I think is really important. But I think at its core, if you do things for the right reason, and in your heart, you know that you're doing it you can evaluate, and you can truly say every day that I'm doing that because it's the right thing to do, not the right thing to do for me, but it's the right thing to do, even if it's not the popular decision or the popular choice, and that you're doing something to influence others' behavior, not in a selfish way, but in a way towards advancing a common goal or mission. That truly is what leadership is to me.
Thank you, Beverly. Mentorship is a huge part of this profession, and Beverly, you mentioned the young women after you, but mentorship also probably played a role in your own career. So Lourdes, who mentored you, and currently who are you mentoring?
Well, that's a good, I think mentorship is something that as you get older, you think, well, it's my job to mentor and not to be mentored. But I think it's a symbiotic relationship. So for me, my mentorships were actually happened to be all men, because of my generation, in which there were a lot fewer women in practice when I started. And the boss who got me involved in AIA, although he didn't know he was mentoring, he was showing me his leadership, and because he saw, of all his staff, he had 100 people, but he asked me to join and participate. But I was fortunate to always work in firms that the firm owners took an interest in my profession and in my ability to do skills, and improve them. And they always mentored me. Not that that was their goal or plan, but that's kind of where I learned from. And that was professionally. In the AIA, I would say the first person who kind of pushed me to think about what to do and how to mentor is, some of you know him, Jaime Canaves. He kept going, oh, you can do this, you can do this. And so, if you've met him, he's a man with a lot of energy that can probably convince, the Eskimos to buy ice. He's so good at it. And so people like him and Mike Rodriguez, and then I blame it all on Nati Soto. I was ready to take a break from AIA. I told my husband that I needed to let other people join AIA, at the state level. And she goes, well, I'm thinking of running for president. I'm like, you can't do that, because that means I have to run. And that's when I ran for vice president. So people like Nati and Elizabeth and you, Becky, have taught me to see how I can be mentored, how I can be better. And then from who am I mentoring? I make an effort of mentoring all of my staff if possible. But certainly the younger generation, I make a point of finding out what things they like, and encourage them to find a group. It's all about finding a community. It could be the worst place you live, but you have a group of a community, whether it's friends from church or friends from your profession or from work, that it'll be definitely what keeps you going. And so my job, I think, as a firm owner, is to make sure that I keep tabs on all my staff to make sure that they have found some outlet. And then at the AIA, several people on the screen know that I'm, I'm learning from Matty. I call her the master manipulator. Gently manipulate other people to do things. So Natty is probably my best mentor of how to mentor other people. And I think it's just a constant dialogue, because there's so much we can learn from the younger generation that I don't think of, and vice versa, their perspective. And I am the last of the boomers, so to speak. So I'm going to be next year. So I think it's important to always stay connected, because we all can improve our skills. I mean, I went to the JLI, the Jacob Leadership Institute. People are like, why you do that? Like, well, because it's never late to learn. What can I do better? And Rhonda definitely encouraged me. So I think everybody around us tends to mentor me, and then I try to do the same thing, even if it's just a quick conversation. In fact, she's not going to like it, but a former student staff member who's not in Florida joined because I said, you got to join. So it's a constant thing.
Thank you, Lourdes. You actually got a comment in the chat. Alyssa shouted out that you've been mentoring her for 20 plus years.
That's the one. That's the one.
All right. Well, another thing you all have in common is that you all own and run your own businesses. And obviously taking a leadership role in AIA while you're still leading your firm is quite a time commitment. So Elizabeth, how have you managed the difficult decisions about allocating your time? Do you have a process? Have you seen good results, bad results?
Well, so I'm not the kind of person that has like the 3-year plan, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan. Like, life just happens, and I try to take advantage of what happens to me. One thing somebody said the other day that really resonates with me is that if you open one door, you open several doors, and that's kind of how my life has been. So I kind of started my own firm just because I couldn't take the previous arrangement anymore. I was one day driving to work on a Sunday, and I was counting how many weekends in a row, Saturday and Sunday, I have been working, and that was my 5th weekend. And then I asked, why am I doing that for? So besides working the 40-day week, I have the Saturday, the Sunday, and that was almost a month and a half nonstop. And I realized that was not the way to build a career. So at that point, I realized enough is enough. So I asked for a leave of absence from the firm I was working at, but I couldn't cut the medical cord yet. So I asked for the 6-month leave of absence to see how things were going. And then I started a firm. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how to build anything. I just said, okay, let's see what happens. And then in the 6 months, I had 3 nice projects that I managed to sign contracts with. And I said, well, we have something good going. Let's keep it. And then I learned as I went along. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons my firm is still small, because I never took a business class in my life. It's just like a business session, learning and making mistakes and fixing them. But no regrets. In that sense, I have no regrets. Every time since I have a small firm, I tend to have smaller projects. And in the past, I have done huge projects. Like the Dolphin Mall is one of the projects I have worked on. So if you compare that to a smaller commercial building, there's a big difference between the two. And sometimes when I reach for larger projects, as I miss the challenge, I think about my 5 weekends in a row working, and that each goes away very, very quickly. So in that sense, I have no regrets. I think one thing that usually is more complicated for women, because in my case, I am married and I have children. And that's the path I chose. Not all women decide to have a family. And apparently, statistically, there is a high percentage of women in top leadership positions that chose not to have families because it's very difficult to juggle all the different responsibilities. so one day, something that really hunted me for a while was my feeling that I was not being a mother good enough for my children. That was not present in the bake sales or whatever little things they had to do in school. The big ones I was always there, but the smaller ones I couldn't make it. And then as my children were older, I asked them if they missed me not being there, if they felt like they wished their mom was not working and being in those events. And they said, and my son answered, "Oh, mom, these are for losers that don't have anything to do. You have to work. You have more important things on your plate." So after that, any sense of guilt I had was completely gone. So that was the regret I carried with me for a while, but after that, I was liberated from all of this, and I have no regrets. And then, so there is no process; it's just to learn by doing step by step, and that's the end result.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, I'm curious to go home and ask my daughter if she misses me being out of bed. So we'll see what that answer is. Another question related to firm ownership. Rhonda, is running a firm, does it make serving AIA easier, and did it influence your decision to run and take AIA leadership roles?
Did it influence my decision to run? Of course, being president of AIA Florida, understanding the reputation that it has, and then looking at the people across the state, you want to do them the best job that you can, the service that they deserve. And so it was a huge decision. But before I did that, I don't know if everybody knows or not, but my husband is my partner. We've been together for a long time. Next March, we will have been married 32 years. I can't believe it. But we run the firm together. We have our own little niches. He also holds a landscape architecture degree and license, and I have the interior license. But I set him down. He's very encouraging. Many years ago in the early 90s, he served as ASLA president for the state. So I knew that he would understand the time. But I realized that taking on this commitment, I was also committing the office. There's just running just AIA Tallahassee. You kind of get an idea of the time frame. But I discussed and just was upfront. I want you to understand. I know you do, but I want it all said out loud that this commitment is several years in the making and in duration, but it's going to take the commitment of the office. And so again, he was very encouraging and said, "You have to run." And so that was really nice. He's been so supportive. And I think the year, 2022, the election, we were at the board dinner when it was so hot in Orlando, if you guys remember. And I looked over and he had a name badge made, a name tag, and it said "First Dude." And I almost cried right there in front of Beverly, because I realized then that he had already had faith in me and had gone through the efforts of having the name tag done. So I'm getting emotional over him now. Can't do that. But what I do in serving AIA, just like I did when I taught at the School of Architecture, I treated that portion like a client. And we all have multiple clients, right? You have multiple jobs that you deal with. So I treated it like a client that deserves just your priority. And so that's how I kind of handle the opportunity and the responsibilities.
Thank you, Rhonda. This next question, I'd like to get comment from each of you on. What would you tell the next generation about becoming a leader in AIA or their firm? And Lourdes, I'll start with you.
Don't be afraid that you are unprepared on anything, because you are. Men and women, you are prepared to be leaders. Some of us have the ability to be leaders easier than others, and some of us have to work at it. but don't regret it. Don't regret taking the chances. If you wait for an opportunity to knock at the door, you may be waiting for a long time. So you have to be the master of your destiny, right? You have to, whatever you choose that destiny to be, that doesn't mean you have to be an owner, you have to be president of the component, but you need to make the decision of what you want that to be. And sometimes you need a little nudging from somebody, hey, why don't you do this? But certainly trust in who you are and your faith and your skills. You are better than you think you are. You remember the little Winnie the Pooh, he's always kind of talking to Eeyore and they're kind of talking to, it's you're stronger than you are, you're smarter than you are. It's like the whole little thing, I have kids, hence why I know Winnie the Pooh. And it's really as Beverly said, now it's called the imposter syndrome. In our days, it was being unconfident. Now I ignore the bitch, or an asshole, whoever you have on your shoulder, and just do it because you're never going to regret it. You will regret not doing something thinking, well, I wasn't ready. If you weren't ready, you weren't ready. You learn from that, right? So those kind of things. That's what I would tell the next generation. Seize an opportunity, take it. You don't see an opportunity, go find it. And you'll not regret it. You will not, and you will always learn, even if you think you didn't do so well.
Thank you, Lourdes. Beverly, what would you say?
It's funny, right before the call, before everyone came on, we were talking about panning for gold. So I'm taking my staff on a retreat to North Carolina and we're going to do gold panning. And it's kind of funny, but it's invest in yourself. So these opportunities that come along, if you look at it as an investment in your future and you think about value, and we talk about that all the time with AIA, the value of an architect. So as every one of us makes that investment to engage, there's going to be return on the investment, whether it's a personal return on investment or for the profession and to strengthen the profession. So I think encouraging a pipeline and encouraging leadership within the profession is going to have a ripple effect and is going to provide a tremendous return on investment for us overall. The leadership doing this with AIA has also spurned other leadership opportunities in the community for me personally, but also is a reflection of my ability to convey to the general public what an amazing profession we're in. And so I think it's an investment in yourself, but it's also an investment that'll pay dividends for all of us.
Thank you, Beverly. Rhonda, what would you say?
What I would say to the younger generation coming up, or to anybody that's questioning their position, is that your entire life's experience has brought you to this place and to this moment, and it gives you a perspective. You have your own experiences, you've developed an expertise, and more importantly, you have a voice. You have a voice. And all of these things wrapped together is your own unique package. And whether you know it or not, or whether you ever understand it, you will be, in your story, your experience, your perspective, your voice will be an inspiration and an encouragement to someone. I mean, think about it. We're in this creative, noble profession, like Beverly mentioned. But think about the gifts it goes into, the gifts that you have that goes into being an architect. And what it's all about is the blessings that you have, the talent that you have. It's all about serving that community, your fellow colleagues in architecture and the association. So I would say take a look at and just know that where you are is where you're meant to be, and that it's all about giving back. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. And finally, Elizabeth, what would you tell the next generation?
Well, a lot has been said, but I'm gonna just add two more things. One is something I heard a while ago in an AI meeting, and it said, somebody said that if you're not at the table, you'll be on the menu. And I think we all decided to be architects. Architect is a very noble profession, and if you don't do something about it, it will be on the menu, and eaten by other professions. So I think we need to put forward not only our personal experience and grow professionally so we can feel we have realized our full potential, but also we own to our professional and our colleagues that we need to elevate our profession to the most we can. And as Rhonda has chosen for the theme for our upcoming convention is architecture matters, and it does matter. What we do have an impact in the lives of a whole bunch of people that you don't even know, and you probably won't know them, and you cannot imagine. But our buildings, they can last. I know a lot of developers think 30 years, but they can last 100 and 150 years. So that's a legacy that we leave behind us. And this is up to us to decide if that's a positive legacy or not. So being a leader in your office will allow you to have a voice and direct the development of projects the way you think is the best for what's meant to be, and not just sit on your table, on your keyboard, drafting something. So I think we all should understand that we have a voice, no matter what level of professional development you are, you should just be doing it. There is like the right thing to do at the right phase of our growth, but I think we cannot be blind to that or keep postponing it forever, because the forever is today, and if we don't start doing something, there may not be a future for all of us.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I'd also like to hear from you all on this next one. Another commonality is that you all have served as local component presidents, and you are serving, have served, or will serve as AI Florida president. And I'd like you each to share an experience. It can be with AI Florida or your local component. So Elizabeth, let's start with you.
Okay, so I'm just starting my route, my leadership process this one, or the more target leadership route at AI Florida. But at AI Miami, I had a very interesting experience that was super rewarding. When I was the president, Hurricane Irma hit Miami, and there was a lot of devastation, not comparable to Hurricane Andrew, but enough to have all of us worried about what happened and how to bring it back. So as the president of the chapter, it felt on my, I have no experience with hurricanes. I am from Brazil. There are no natural disasters in Brazil until recently, but when I grew up, there was no. I lived in California. I have minor experience with earthquakes, but hurricanes for me was something that I always heard about Andrew, but I have never experienced anything similar or even close to it. So when Irma came, I realized that, oh shit, it's on my lap. I have to do something about it. So we started the disaster assistance program at the chapter, and we reestablished the safety assessment program, and we trained 80 some architects to do evaluations of buildings after natural disasters. And then we created also the Resilient Recovery Task Force. So our idea was that we keep on seeing that after a disaster, builds are built the same way because people are in a hurry. That's what they know how to do. They just put the same thing in the same place, just to see to destroy it again next time the hurricane comes. So the goal of our task force is to put together recommendations on how to build better. And we share all this information we compiled with a lot of the Caribbean communities that among them the smallest cities and villages. They didn't have building code, or they didn't have any authority enforcing the construction as per a building code, because a lot of grassroots movement. So we made it very easy to understand. So the person that could have a little bit more experience in construction could easily understand the instructions and teach their neighbors on those instructions of how to build a little better and improve their communities that way. And also the Hotel Association of the Caribbean, and I'm butchering the name, something like that. they asked us recommendations because a lot of the hotels were destroyed with Irma, and they were eager to give them back and better, so they would be there ready next time and wouldn't lose all the revenue in the business that they were losing at that point. So we were able to share and hope to help them to stay them stronger. And I think that so our disaster assistance program is still on. We haven't had any major ones, so people become a little complacent, so it's time to merge them again. The season was busy, so hopefully there is more interest as we go on.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And I know a lot of you on the call have had similar experience, and looking at my friends in Southwest Florida, you were the latest ones to have to answer the call, so it's always appreciated. Rhonda, what about an experience that you want to share?
I think the one I'd like to share is about becoming involved in the community. So in 2019, while I was AIA Tallahassee component president, I attended what was then called Grassroots in Washington, D.C. And at that time in the program, they had a panel of mayors that talked about what was going on in their city. But one of the things that they mentioned was how much they welcomed architects becoming involved in the community. And that was like just a catalyst for me. I was just amazed that they were so welcome and encouraged it. So I came home and I reached out to our mayor at the time. Actually, he's still Mayor John Daly, and introduced myself and told him what I was interested in getting the architects involved. And we set a time and we went over. I introduced the board to him and told him again that we wanted to be a part of helping better the community. And he said, let's go. And so in like 103-degree weather at the time, he walked us all around downtown Tallahassee with his vision of what the downtown could be. And from that meeting, we scheduled several charrettes and organized teams for each area, because again, he had visions for all across the city, and did several charrettes around the city and developed some drawings for each area. And we got that far and COVID hit. So just this year, we've had a meeting to take stock of where we left off and see where we can move forward from there. So I think, you know, we've talked about on the board becoming the resource for your community and community leaders. And I think that experience showed me how much the community needs us. And actually, they welcome our input, and all we've got to do is reach out.
Thank you, Rhonda. Beverly, what's something you'd like to share?
Like Rhonda, I think one of the revelations for me that became even more striking once I joined AIA Florida board. I think AIA Tampa is very strong in advocacy, but advocacy is has been a revelation. And to me, that one word encompasses the value that I think AIA brings to us as a profession. So for me, one of the biggest takeaways or experiences is Legislative Day, and not any one, every single one has just been extraordinary. And the ones where we have a lot of student engagement are the ones that make the biggest impression on me. So if anybody is on the call and you haven't been to Legislative Day, and Becky, you want to put a quick plug in for what the dates are, but please come, and I would encourage you, come and bring somebody else with you, bring students or bring young professionals with you, because especially standing on this staircase this last year and being able to address with Lourdes there with me, and also because I always try to pull Lourdes back up with me whenever I can. That, and I will say one other thing. If you're ever in the position, which I consider myself having been fortunate to share the stage with Lourdes at Design Awards this year, don't ever wear 4-inch heels for 3 hours, because I'm telling you, that was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had in my life. And you have to stand on stage with a huge smile. And by the time I was done, my feet were sausages.
Thank you, Beverly. And we have moved away from the clear podium so you can take your shoes off for anybody that ever.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
there.
well, I have to agree with Beverly. I did the same pair of shoes both years, and my feet hurt both years. What was I thinking? But the dress looked really good with the shoes. So if you were watching, I kept changing, putting my foot up and stuff. There's so much that I have done with AIA that I am so pleased to have done. Mine is kind of interconnected, and it's kind of the reason we're here. In 2009, I went to the first Women Leadership Summit that National had, and I realized we didn't have a women architect group in Miami, and I came back to Miami, and I talked to Nati, who was the president in 2009, and Cricket. I said, we need one of these here. And the first meeting we had, there were so many people I had never seen before. And I thought, wow, there's a whole population of our members that we are not touching. I mean, at least, I mean, my focus, of course, is women architecture. It could be whatever other topic you have. And I thought, wow, this is awesome, right? And all of a sudden, it's like the thing grew and grew and grew. And Palm Beach had their own, and then somebody else had another one. And Nati and I wrote a toolkit for National, and the thing had legs that I just never expected. I just wanted a group of architect women friends that could get together and share what we're doing, because people, we're sometimes, men are a little bit better at saying how great I am. Women, tend to, for a variety of different reasons, there's a whole different conversation, tend to not, do that. Hey, look at me, I'm great. And all of a sudden, Elizabeth couldn't go, and I couldn't either, to the 2017 Women Leadership Summit. So Elizabeth goes, well, we need to make our own here in Miami. So here I am. Elizabeth is our leader for that one, and we've hosted 3. And then I was like, well, Florida, we need one of these 2. And before we know it, it's like grown. Today we had up to 52 people, not all of them women. So I'm very happy. This isn't about preaching to the choir. This is about really creating that community. And that's something that I think AIA gives us an opportunity. Elizabeth and her resiliency, one-pagers and all the things that we're doing. You have to find that one thing that you're so passionate about. AIA is going to give you a way to take care of it, and run with it, and so I find it, very exciting to always, continue to see how we can continue to grow the profession and grow our younger generation and our women. That's my mantra. If you don't like it, sorry, and that's something that I'm really happy that I was given the opportunity to do, and that goes back to, finding that one thing you like. If you see a void, don't wait for somebody to create the committee. You go and see if you can create the committee, and you can create the process. You'll be surprised in the impact that you can make.
Well, Lourdes, you have inspired more creation. Denise Boss is on the call from AI Palm Beach, and she is now currently planning a Women's Leadership Summit in Palm Beach. So mark your calendars for March 9th, 2024. Hi, Denise. Well, as we are getting to the end of our time here, if anybody has questions, you can either raise your hand, unmute yourself, put some questions in the chat. But I also wanted to give each of our panelists an opportunity. If there are any further comments you wanted to make, or something we didn't cover, I would love to give you each the opportunity of adding anything to the conversation. And Rhonda, I see you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go because I wanted to make certain people were aware. We're here talking about the 4 female leaders of AIA Florida. And it's important that you be intentional about your training and your professional development. So I'm going to do this shameless plug for JLI, and it's time to apply. But without giving away all of it, the program separates or categorizes leadership into 2 areas of focus. Your leadership can be transactional, your leadership can be transformative. And my takeaway from the program is that I can be intentional in my leadership. Leadership sets the culture, it sets the tone, and my grandmother would say it sets the table. So how do you want to set this table? What is it that you want to be and do in your leadership capabilities? So I would highly recommend everyone, if you have not done it, to sign up for the JLI program. You will be glad you did. Thank you.
And Becky has put the link on the chat, so you don't even have to go look for it.
Anyone else have anything to add?
Becky, if I may, real quick, I see Don Yoshino is on the call, and I just wanted to say that's the other. If I had to say there was one highlight of the last couple years for me, it's getting to know Don Yoshino, and the fact that he's one of my heroes, and it's, as others have said on the call, it's remarkable the friends that you made across the state and across the country, but also the opportunities to find mentors you never knew you were going to have, and good friends. So I just wanted to add that highlight. Being able to interview Don was a highlight of my career.
If I may, oh, wait, go for it, Don.
If I may, I was just, I logged into this session because I wanted to see you young ladies and listen to what you had to say. And I'm so proud of you guys and what you've done for us at AIA Florida. And the thing is, you know, I always brag to everybody that I can ever brag to is about how Florida is the leaders of not only Florida, but the whole US and AIA National. And I always bring up the four of you, you know, in succession, leading us. And you bring such a different leadership quality to us. And as I watch you guys, and it's you have a unique way of doing it, things that we as men don't come about it the same way, and it's fantastic. So keep it up, and congratulations. I love it.
Well, Don, you are an inspiration to us. So I'm personally honored that you decided to join us at your lunchtime to listen to us. And as Beverly said, it's always inspirational to hear everything you do and what you've accomplished. So we're trying to live up to your shoes, so to speak.
Exactly.
I'd like to turn this one a little bit on Becky, because one of the things I'm very proud of as AIA incoming president was having the opportunity to interview for hiring Becky as our executive EVP. That's probably one of the things that I know Beverly too, because she was on that committee. She and I know are very proud of not only the efforts of hiring her, but how easy it was to hire her, because she was so amazing. She still is. And some of our chapters have staff and some don't. So obviously the chapters with staff always have perhaps a leg up just because they have the staff. So I'm going to turn it a little bit on Becky and say, and not that you're trying to diss on anybody, but what does it feel like to have 4 women in a row, right? To kind of work with, and we say, let's do this, and you go, yes, and you say, let's go to, you know, is it transformational or transactional, as Rhonda says? So I'm turning it on our EVP, who's also a woman, so it's 5, right?
Yes. Well, thank you, Lourdes. And I have not been through Brex training, so but I will say it's been different. Each president is different, has a different leadership style, whether male or female. But what I really cherish is that there's been just great relationships. I count you all among my friends, and I know that I could even call you for other things and support. And a lot of the inspirational people on this Zoom right here. And thank you to the men that have dialed in. I guess actually dialed. Sorry, I'm getting old. And then it's just wonderful to see people like Stacy Bourne, complete trailblazer, and she's coming into here. So thank you for everybody that's done everything, and it's been wonderful to work for everybody. We have just a great membership, and I look forward to who's in the future. I see some future AI Florida presidents. Their names are on this list here too, so you won't be getting away anytime soon. I just feel like our association's in great hands. People like Nikki and Barbara coming up as our associate directors. I don't know, I feel warm fuzzy. So this is just been great. I'm glad we have this community. So anybody else have any? Thank you, Marjorie.
Becky does rock.
No, I just want to thank you, Don, for being here. I mean, your role modeling and what you've done throughout your life is an inspiration, and that's kind of something that keeps you going. And it's always good to look to who came behind us and try to simulate their successes, because that gives fuel and energy to our own actions. Thank you, Becky, for being there for all of us. And I'd like to share that AIA Florida has the best reputation in the country as one of the best chapters from all the 52 chapter components. We are very highly looked at from the other states. So it's good to know that we are doing a good job as a state and promoting our profession and defending our profession in the state.
Wonderful.
Stacy turned on her
I know.
camera.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Stacy. Oh, you're muted.
I'm on my cell phone. You know, I'm used to sitting in front of a screen and trying to hold and do multi things. And I'm just really encouraged that that this exists. You know, you talk about 2009, we didn't have these things. And, you know, at that time when I served on the Diversity Council on the board, you know, creating the Women's Leadership Summit. And, you know, at the time it was like, you guys want to do what? You know? And so now it's just to see all the energy and the momentum, and Lord, is to hear about how things have really just bloomed into all of this from different chapters. It's just so encouraging. And I really wish we had the same energy in AIA Virgin Islands, you know, but I'm going to have to come and recruit some of you presidents to come to the Virgin Islands, because I saw my name on a list yesterday and I was like, what? You know, so thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you, Stacy. Thanks for all you've done. And Virgin Islands is always welcome to do everything with Florida. So come on over. And Jennifer, you have your hand up? You're muted, Jennifer. You're still muted, Jennifer.
Even
Sorry.
after 3 years, we still make a mistake.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say how proud and how inspired I am to see each one of you here. Not only for Florida, we have something very similar for national, right? And it is just being in the field for so long and being one of 2 females in the entire program when I was starting to study. When in some of our countries, we do see a lot of females, but at that time, for some reason, there weren't any females. And just being in a completely different environment, just I can't express how proud and how excited I am to see this. This is beyond belief, and it's just, it speaks volume for the talent that is out there, and what you guys are doing for all of us as well, not only service-wise, but paving the way for opportunities. Thank you so much, every single one of you. Becky, yourself included. You're so instrumental. Beverly, Lourdes, Rhonda, and Elizabeth. I have had a chance to meet you most now that I've started getting involved. I got pulled in as well, and I cannot believe it.
Fresh blood. We got to run with her.
Jennifer, so Jennifer, I know that you have met Sky Slayton. I think Sky may be on the call. Don't let her fool you. She is incredibly talented and resourceful and just this incredible young woman. So don't let her get away. She's very talented. I told her
that
she
she's
had to go
coming.
join. Yes.
I heard that she's coming. She was the first one to RSVP to our holiday party. So very excited to meet her and everybody else that's going to be there.
Thank you, Jennifer, and welcome to AI Gainesville, Sky. Denise, you have your hand up?
I do. I'm so excited to see how this has blossomed, Lourdes. And thank you for doing this, because for years I was longing for this community and for us to all be having these monthly group gatherings. So thank you for making it happen. I am going to take this opportunity. I think this is the place to do it. And I may even ask Becky to help me out here and show on the screen our save the date. We are doing our first women's conference for AIA Palm Beach in March 9th. And I am grateful for Lourdes and Nati for your leadership and getting all this started. You guys have been my inspiration, but there it is. Mary Wissinger had developed our amazing graphics, which we all fell in love with. And so this is our save the date. So please mark your calendars. More information is going to be forthcoming. It is a 1 day on a Saturday that we can all come together, and it promises to be a very engaging and inspirational event. So I do hope that you guys can join us, and be on the lookout for more announcements. So
I
thank
love the
you.
shameless plug. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Well, why I have my, and yes, eventually, Marjorie, this will be going on Friday Facts. We'll get it on the calendar. So while I have my screen shared, I do want to share
Oh, I love it.
this lovely image.
Yes, you know me, I always have to have some sort of funny face. And Elizabeth says this is a picture that should have been on the flyer. Well, I don't want to use up everybody's time. Oh, okay, Becky.
No, go ahead. You got it.
This has been for me a phenomenal experience to again share the screen with Beverly and Rhonda and Elizabeth, and of course Becky, and of course all of you for joining us. And yes, I think Beverly does have heels, the rest of us have flats. Mandely was asking. Please make sure we will continue this again next year in 2024. The presidents have the luxury of telling me to say goodbye, but I guess that they might be a little afraid of me, so they leave the committee in existence. And if you'd like to participate in helping us plan, please send me or Becky an email, and we will put you in. I'm gonna send an email out probably in this probably next week to start planning for 2024. And as always, we do have a breakfast. I believe, Rhonda, yes, we still have a breakfast at the conference.
Yes, we do.
So of course we need a theme or something to do there. So please, if you want to help, let us know. And if not, we will certainly see you in January, February, March, April, so on and so forth. December, of course, is busy, so we're not doing a busy. This is December's in November. Anything else, you ladies? Our current president, you can say something. Our incoming presidents, the floor is yours before we run off back to what we do on a regular basis.
Just thank everybody for being on the call. This has been great. And Lourdes, always thank you for your leadership and your mentorship. And Becky, you do rock.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you to everybody that took your time today. Thank you, everybody that volunteers for AI at every level. It is so much appreciated. You make my job easy. So thank you. And we're happy holidays and happy New Year. If I don't see anybody, and we're seeing you in the New Year.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thanks, everybody.
Bye.